On January 15, 1929, civil rights leader Martin Luther King Jr. is born in Atlanta. But what was MLK's childhood like? And what experiences in his youth put him on the path to become a civil rights leader? His father was a popular minister in the Atlanta neighborhood known as Sweet Auburn. The house where MLK was born is a historic site today, part of several blocks of Atlanta devoted to him. The home is set up the way it looked when MLK was a child. MLK's sister, Christine King Ferris, who died in 2023, has said that the only thing that is really inaccurate about the way the house looks is that the room that belonged to MLK and his brother never actually looked as tidy when they were kids as it does today. In 2023, a woman emptied a large red can of gasoline all over the front porch of the historic home in an effort to burn it down. 2 tourists from Utah stepped in and prevented her from lighting the fire, and 2 other visitors, who were retired NYPD officers, held her until Atlanta police arrived. She was charged with second-degree arson and interfering with government property. Let's now look at a few of the events that shaped the young Dr. King. He first began to understand a race problem existed when he was about 6 years old. He had a white friend whose father owned the store across the street from his boyhood home. When they started school, the boy told MLK that his father said they couldn't play anymore. It made him initially hate white people because, quote, "How can I love a race of people who hated me?" End quote. At age 14, he went to a high school oratorical contest in Dublin, Georgia. He gave a speech where he said that if freedom is good for any, it is good for all. He and his teacher took a bus back to Atlanta. A white passenger got on, and they had to move to the back. He said that night never left his memory. It was the angriest he had ever been in his life. It was, in fact, discrimination on the city buses, this time in Montgomery, Alabama, that 12 years later would push Dr. King, then a 26-year-old minister, into the national spotlight. The summer after high school, MLK worked on a farm in Connecticut, then took a train back to Georgia. He could sit wherever he wanted when he boarded that train. At Washington, D.C., however, segregation rules returned, and he had to sit behind the curtain. For him, it was a bitter feeling going back to segregation. MLK said, quote, "The very idea of separation did something to my sense of dignity and respect. I felt as if the curtain had been dropped on my selfhood." End quote. Over time, as MLK met and worked with more white people, a spirit of cooperation took over for him. King, of course, went on to change the world, becoming the nation's most prominent civil rights leader. He was assassinated at the Lorraine Motel in Memphis, Tennessee in 1968. Here are other events that happened today in history. In 1559, at London's Westminster Abbey, 25-year-old Elizabeth I is crowned Queen of England. In 1831, French author Victor Hugo finishes writing his classic novel, The Hunchback of Notre Dame. In 1870, famed political cartoonist Thomas Nast first draws the Democratic Party as a donkey. In 1967, the Green Bay Packers defeat the Kansas City Chiefs 35-10 in the first Super Bowl. In 1981, Stevie Wonder leads a rally in Washington, D.C. to try to make MLK's birthday a holiday. In 2009, pilot Chesley Sullenberger saves 155 lives by ditching his airliner in New York's Hudson River. In 2023, Mexico puts into effect a total ban on smoking in public places, including hotels, beaches, and parks. And now, it's time for our Today in History quiz. American musician Jimmy Buffett was mistaken for a drug smuggler, and his plane was shot at by authorities from which Caribbean nation? Jamaica, Haiti, Cuba, or the Dominican Republic? Liked learning about MLK's childhood? Then you'll love this one about when he received the Nobel Peace Prize. Tap the screen to keep the story going on Today in History.